Hello, YouTube friends! My name is Constance and this is Cruelty for Musings. Welcome back to my channel where I am introducing a project pan. Woo! What else do you do in January, right? Introduce project pans. This one is going to be the introductory episode of a project that I have never done before or anything like. This is a Pan That palette. I did have in my year-long New Decade project pan last year, which I should have posted the finale to by now. We'll see if that actually got edited before this one, but I should have posted the finale, hopefully. I used a palette, the Juvia's Place Nubian 2, all year, and during that entire year-long episode, I discovered a fondness for mattes and for warm tones that I didn't really know existed in myself. So I picked a matte warm tone palette. This is the Too Faced Just Peachy Mattes palette. I will be inserting roll footage of close-up footage of the palette itself. It is a matte palette, very warm toned. Overall, quite I won't say that it's gently pigmented. Overall, it's a buildable. It's a buildable formula, I would say, rather than a highly pigmented formula. So something that I discovered with Juvia's Place, I do love the Juvia's Place formulas. They are highly pigmented because they are meant to work well on deeper skin tones, which I obviously am not. Obviously, I am closer to paper or cotton wool or the lilies that are the fabric lilies that are sitting over there being decorative on the corner of my desk. I am just not a dark person at all in any way. So as much as I appreciate a highly pigmented formula, in a lot of ways, a lighter formula works better for me. So, with that in mind, I'm pretty sure that this is my only palette of all mattes, unless I were to create a palette of matte singles, and use that all year. I just enjoy this palette. I've been using it I started using it in December. And I started tracking my usage in December. But I hadn't used it much before that. I'd owned it for I've probably owned this for, I have a distinct memory of receiving this when I lived in the apartment, and we have been in the house. Well, I discussed this, in the last video that I recorded, which may or may not have already gone up, we'll see. We've been in this house for 2 years in December. So this has to be at least 2 years old. And I think I bought it in a fall sale of some kind. It went on sale for half off, and I bought it. And I love the palette, but I definitely had some buyer's remorse warranted, given that it's basically sat untouched in my collection for, over 2 years. I've used it a little bit, but not very much. So let's do the traditional thing and give swatches of all of the colors. I've given my justification. I like having a palette that is just always out that can give me an easy basic look, and this is that for me. I like the warm-toned, buildable formula. You know, the light tones with the buildable formula, a bunch of these specific colors in here are really good one shadow looks. Yeah, so let's get into swatches. And I'm not necessarily going to tell you the names of all of these. They're all to do with Peaches because it's Too Faced and Peaches. I can't see where that first swatch was, so I'm just going to pretend. As you can see, the first color in the palette exactly matches my skin tone. So there's no highlight shade in this palette for me, which is fine, it's a matte palette. But there is, this is the second one, and it's sort of meant to, it's laid out so that you can easily go across each row and get a nice eye look. So this is the deepest shade in the top row, and like you can see, building it up, that would be, a decent outer corner shade for me probably. Let me wipe off my fingers. Alright, let's attempt to not take up as much space with the next set of swatches. This is the next light shade, and it disappears into my skin tone, so yeah. You can see what I mean about this being a very pale palette. Like, these would be highlight shades for a lot of people, and these second shades would be blending out colors. And for me, these are crease shades. And I'm fine with that. Like, if I just want to give my eye a little bit of definition, these are great shadows. Like, the second lightest shade is a great one to go for. And the second row is I like both of the top rows. They're very easy everyday shades. This second row is quite a bit more pink. You can see from this shade in particular, I get a very rosy tone, and it makes my eyes look very... My eyes are sort of baseline gray, but they can shift blue or green, and whatever way my eyes are feeling like leaning that day, this will bring them out. They'll look less gray and more blue or green. So I like that for that. It's a less punchy color. This color is actually named Peach Punch than you might think looking at it in the pan. As I said, buildable. So this up here is sort of the basic warm neutralish, and then these lean more pink. And moving on to the last row, I did not leave myself a lot of space. We'll try. So the last light color actually shows up on my skin. That'd be a nice crease color. It's clearly meant to be like a darker, smokier sort of deal. Okay. This shade has a little bit of shimmer. It's the only not true matte in the palette. A lot of people made a major point of that. Yeah, I really did not leave myself a lot of room for the last swatches. And then this deepest shade is definitely the deepest. You could really do a nice smoky look with these last four shades. But again, sort of a warm, sort of a neutral palette. I have already used, let me check my tally sheet. I have already used the palette 10 times. This is January 8th. And I have, between December and the first slightly over a week of January, I have used this palette 10 times. So I'm clearly already enjoying it, and yeah, the goal is not particularly to hit pan on all of the shades or to use up all of the shades or any of the shades. But I do have a little bit of a dent in this shade. Let's move my hand in this shade, which is Peach Cobbler, and I've used it 5 times so far. So I am just sort of keeping track of how often I use each shade, and if I see a dent, I expect to see dents in the shades that I use more, and I do use these top 2 rows more, just because the first 3 shades work really well as an eye look for me. I don't really use the lightest shade unless I go a little bit too heavy and I need to blend it out and make it look a little bit more invisible. But I definitely use the middle 2 shades for both of the top 2 rows. And I haven't done a lot with the bottom row yet, but I feel like these 2 would also be fine everyday shades, and obviously any of these would be fine for a liner or for deepening up the outer V if I wanted to be a little bit more dramatic. I usually don't on a work morning, which is what I do. Like, that's how I've been using this. I've just grabbed it every day when I'm working. So that is my first edition of a Pan That palette ever, Pan That Palette 2021. My goal is not to hit pan, but it is to see quite a bit more use on this palette over the course of the year, and to just have a palette that is always out, that's near to hand, that I can easily chuck a couple of shadows on my eyes and feel put together. So, I'm making it formal. Here we go, Pan That Palette 2021 Just Peachy Mattes from Too Faced. I don't plan to update this monthly. I might do every other month, or I might do quarterly. I do have another project that I am planning to update definitely quarterly, so we'll see. I might sort of combine recording those updates, do like a mass recording session for like my Pan That Palette and my year-long non-rolling project pan. We'll see how I feel about it. Generally, at least every quarter, and if I feel like I'm seeing a lot of progress, I might update it every other month. I really don't plan to update it monthly though. Alright, so, with all of that said, I hope you enjoyed it or learned something, or both. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, do whatever you feel like, and goodbye for now.